Mad Movie Mark, another Mad Movie Mark movie review, counting down my top 10 least favorite movies of all time, or my top 10 most disappointing movies of all time. I never was able to figure out a title for it, and everything fits into both of those buckets. So we're just going to go with both. This is the 1998 disaster movie, Armageddon. Let me go ahead and go over the movies we've already done. So number 10 was Across the Universe. Number 9 was Team America World Police. Number 8 was MASH. Number 7 was Golden Compass. Number 6 was Dreamcatcher. 5 Beowulf. 4 Dark Phoenix. 3 Lord of War. And 2 Armageddon. Like I said, this is 1998 and it is directed by Michael Bay. Before I go into too much of a recap and my review of the movie, why I was excited to see it, why I thought it was disappointing, let me first say that I love movies that are classics, that are award winners, that have a stellar cast, great acting, no nonsense, just arts of film basically. And for me, this Armageddon and disaster movies, Independence Day, stuff like that. I love Independence Day, but these are kind of a little out of my wheelhouse, a little out of my comfort zone, just like horror movies would be as well. I'm not a huge horror movie fan, though I will watch some for my YouTube channel, but these are kind of not in my comfort zones, so I'm going to do my best to review this movie and to talk about this movie as if it is a summer blockbuster and not as if it's a movie that's bad because it didn't win any Academy Awards, because the plot line didn't make a lot of sense. It's a summer blockbuster. It's Michael Bay. You know what you get with Michael Bay. You're going to get a lot of explosions. You're going to get a lot of, CGI, a lot of special effects. It's going to be a movie that probably costs a lot of money, and hopefully a movie that made much more money than it actually cost. It's a summer blockbuster. So if everyone could just bear with me while maybe I will kind of fray from what I'm trying to do, but I am stepping out of my comfort zone. So, and that's another reason why I was so disappointed with this movie and why I didn't like it, because deep down inside, maybe I have that bias and I'm just not able to, treat this movie how it should be treated. Anyway, this movie has the biggest gap on Rotten Tomatoes that I have seen so far. Not that I don't go out searching for gaps on Rotten Tomatoes. I usually just look up the movies that I'm going to review or the movies that I'm going to watch, try to make an educated decision on if it's worth watching or not. But when you have something like this, that decision is very hard because it's a 38% critic rating and a 73% audience rating. So if you're going into this movie and you're thinking, should I watch this movie? Is it worth it? Well, you just have to decide if you're going to believe the audience or the critics. I think most people believe the audience, and there's nothing wrong with that. You just have to go in there knowing that maybe it's inflated or maybe the critics were too critical on it. And like I said before, there is a big issue, I think, in the entertainment industry with movies that are, say, like nominated for Academy Awards that no one goes to see. The critics really love it. The audience don't want to watch it. And, I'm not saying that a movie like this should win an Academy Award, but I'm saying that, the gap between these two is very big. And, there's got to be a reason for it. There's got to be some sort of reason to explain why critics hate it so much and why the audience loves it so much. I can try to delve into that, but obviously I'm not going to solve anything today. Anyway, after that tangent, IMDb did give it a 6.7, which is closer to the audience rating. So at least for this right now, we can say that maybe the audience has a better argument that they are correct than the critics do. So this movie stars Bruce Willis, who plays Henry S. Stamper, Billy Bob Thornton, who plays Dan Truman, Ben Affleck, who plays AJ Frost, Liv Tyler is Grace Stamper, which is Harry S. Stamper's daughter, Steve Buscemi, who is Rockhound, Owen Wilson, who is Oscar, and Michael Clark Duncan, who is Bear. So if I'm not a huge fan of disaster movies, it's not really in my wheelhouse. Why was I excited to see this movie? Well, there's really 3 reasons why I was excited to see this movie, and they are Bruce Willis, Billy Bob Thornton, and Steve Buscemi. When I first saw this movie, Ben Affleck wasn't as big of an actor And the reason why I originally saw this movie was for Bruce Willis, Billy Bob Thornton, and Steve Buscemi. Uh, Steve Buscemi to me can do little wrong. Same with Bruce Willis and Billy Bob, and for all of them to be in the same movie that I don't like is a huge disappointment for me because these are actors that I really think they're some of the best actors that we've ever seen. But I digress. So let me go ahead and talk about kind of what this movie is about. So Bruce Willis, who plays Harry S. Stamper, he is the owner slash foreman slash boss of a ocean oil driller. So he's not the kind of oil driller who is the There Will Be Blood, out in the middle of Texas drilling oil. He is on the ocean and he's drilling oil there. He is considered, for this movie at least, one of the best drillers in the world, and his crew is considered, I guess, one of the most successful crews in the world as well. So they're doing their oil drilling thing. Harry wakes up and he notices that AJ Frost, played by Ben Affleck, is not at his post where he's supposed to be. He goes to his room and he's still asleep, and in his bed is also Harry's daughter. So Harry is very upset at this. He doesn't want his daughter dating anyone, let alone sleeping with anyone, because that's his baby girl, and he doesn't want anyone to be with her. And also, AJ is a bit of a screw up in this movie. He really doesn't do much of anything right, which obviously foreshadows that at the end of the movie, he's gonna be the one to do it right. He's going to redeem himself. Because, if you have enough screw-ups in a movie, this is one of the main cast members. He's been dating Harry's daughter for 5 months. He really needs to prove himself, that he can be the son that Harry wants. He can be the husband that she wants. He's going to eventually have to prove himself. And, how better to do that than at the end, you have him basically save the day. So there you go. There's some foreshadowing there. So after we are on this oil rig, we are taken to NASA, where Dan Truman, played by Billy Bob Thornton, is helping with a problem that a space shuttle is having in space. Apparently, it's being pelted by a lot of different asteroids, small little pieces of asteroids, but it's enough to basically destroy the whole ship. And they then realize that they have an even bigger problem when they see that there is an asteroid the size of Texas hurling its way to the world, which is basically a world destroyer, and it's going to destroy everything, everything. And also, there's little bits of asteroids also that are falling off of this larger asteroid, and it ends up killing 50,000 people in Asia. But they kind of gloss over that as just a casualty of war. It didn't happen to the United States, so it's not a big problem. So NASA has this huge problem. They have 18 days to figure out how they're going to destroy this asteroid, and they needed to destroy it in a way that it doesn't kind of blow up and still hit the U.S. or the world, just in smaller pieces that could still be catastrophic. So they put their thinking caps on. They think about it for a while, and they come up with this idea that they're going to land on the asteroid, drill a hole in it, put a nuclear bomb in it, detonate the nuclear bomb remotely, and then get off the asteroid. This essentially is a dumb, kind of mindless way. It couldn't probably. I don't know. I'm not a guy who works at NASA, but I'm assuming this couldn't work. But this is also kind of a plot point that you can forgive because, it's a summer blockbuster. It's meant to be kind of out there, not necessarily something that has to be proven to be correct in real life. So it's fine. They decide that astronauts are not going to be able to drill this hole because if something goes awry in space, they only have a few days to train. They're not going to be able to think on their feet. They're not going to be able to solve the problem quickly because they don't know how to drill. They don't know the ins and outs of drilling. This definitely, they believe, should be handled by some drilling professionals. So they contact Bruce Willis. They ask him, are you and your crew okay? Are you okay with the idea of saving the world? Getting on the asteroid, setting the nuclear bomb, and then leaving. And by the way, if you're not okay with it, that's cool. But everyone will die because there's no plan B, essentially. So Bruce Willis thinks about it, and he says, well, we're given all these options. I guess we'll do it. It's the only option that they have, so we'll do it. So his crew ends up training. I would say probably 45 minutes into the movie is about the time that they have completed their training. And really, up until this point, it's like 45 minutes of everyone in NASA pretty much belittling this crew, telling them that they're not NASA ready. You guys aren't NASA people. You'll never make this work. This is dumb. This can't happen. They throw their hands up in the air, basically, and they say, we can't train these people. They don't know anything about how a spaceship works. And they send them through underwater training. They do all this stuff, and they do, through this whole time, they're just basically really hammering home to the audience the fact that these guys don't know what they're doing, and that if they pull it off, it's going to be a miracle, which, everyone should know this. Honestly, this is one of the reasons why I have such a hard time sitting through this movie, because it's a 2.5 hour movie. Probably could have easily been an hour 45, 2 hours tops. But they just take so long with this. They just take so long hammering these things home. Literally every single scene is someone telling you that these guys aren't trained right. They don't know what they're doing. There's only so many days. The clock is counting down, and they're trying to set this tense scene of urgency. And we know that it's urgent. You just have to tell us once that this is a scenario, and we should be fine. But whatever. Also, through the first half of the movie, Steve Buscemi's character, Rockhound, spends a lot of his time trying to make excuses for why he hits on women who are questionably might be 18 or might not be 18. This man, Steve Buscemi, I love the guy, but he's probably in his, 1998, he's in his mid 40s, late 40s. And he just goes around trying to pick up women who look like they could be 18 or, maybe they're younger. I don't know. And it's a little off-putting. I will have to say that if they do, they allude to it once and then they allude to it multiple times, and then he ends up with a stripper. And I don't know. This isn't my kind of movie, I guess. And also at the very beginning, there's a scene where Harry S. Stamper is talking about how he hasn't been there for his daughter through all these times when she was growing up, that she really needed him. And she says, yeah, I know, Rockhound was the one who taught me how to use a pad or whatever women use, and he's like, I didn't teach her how to do that. I just, I told her how verbally, but I don't know, did he? The evidence that we've been seeing already makes me believe that possibly he did stuff with Harry's daughter that maybe he shouldn't have done. But they kind of gloss over that. You never really come back to it again. So there we are. Also, when they're doing their training, it's very clear that Ben Affleck's character, AJ Frost, really has no idea what he's doing. And not only does he have no idea what he's doing, but he goes out of his way to be this cavalier or this maverick or this I guess in the movie, even the Russian guy, there's this Russian character in the movie, he calls them like, you guys are trying to be American cowboys. And they do this a lot in the first 45 minutes while they're training to be NASA astronauts. You know, they're trying to hammer home the urgency that we need to get this done now. There's time wasted, but all they're doing is like goofing around, like playing around with like machinery and goofing off and, you know, having a great time. And they have like a couple days before they have to do this mission. It's just kind of weird to me. I don't know. So after they finally get off into space, they split up into two teams. One team ends up, they split up into two teams. They dock on the International Space Station. For some reason, they give AJ the job of checking the pressure valves when they're fueling each other's spacecraft. So the space station is in charge of fueling the spacecrafts. They give AJ this responsibility of this job. He completely either doesn't understand or isn't listening to the instructions that he's given. And then when it's time for him to act, when there's like obviously a problem happening, he has no idea what he's doing. He just pushes buttons, he breaks off a lever, and he ends up blowing up the International Space Station because it's him. Why do you give him this job? The movie thus far has proven that he can't do anything correct, yet you give him this job and he ends up blowing up the space station. Anyway, they break off into two teams. One team ends up having a lot of issues, crashes the spacecraft. The other team is going to land fine, but they end up like overshoot the landing because like landing on an asteroid is clearly a bad idea. Anyway, it comes to a point where they have to, I'm skipping over a lot of stuff right now, but it comes to a point where they have to detonate the bomb. Everything's in place, but the remote detonation is apparently no longer working. So someone has to stay on the meteor asteroid and detonate it from the asteroid. Ben Affleck's character, AJ, draws the short straw. They all draw straws. Apparently, you just bring straws on a mission like this in case there ever comes a time when you need to draw straws, unless you just normally bring straws on a mission where you're supposed to be landing on a meteor and destroying it. But as luck would have it, they all have straws, so they draw straws. AJ ends up drawing the short straw, so he's supposed to stay back and destroy the meteor. But Bruce Willis kind of does the reverse Uno on him, and he is the one who ends up blowing up the meteor. And him and AJ have this like emotional goodbye where he says, "Oh, I wish I could have seen you and my daughter get married. Treat her well." And AJ did propose to his daughter, but I mean, they've been dating for 5 months. Like, is this really something you want to sacrifice your life because of a 5-month relationship? I don't know. It just seems a bit hasty, you know, but it is what it is. So Bruce Willis ends up sacrificing himself. Everyone else gets back to Earth, and the world is saved. So that's the movie in a nutshell. It's a 2.5-hour movie. So I'm trying to just get major plot points here. But so what kind of issues do I have with the movie besides what I already said? In the movie, Steve Buscemi later on in the movie ends up kind of going crazy. They bring a Gatling gun onto the spacecraft, which I'm assuming is to blast rocks. That's the only thing I can think of that would be for. I would be worried about ricochets and things like that. But they introduced the fact that they have like this Gatling gun on the spacecraft. So Steve Buscemi takes it out. It just starts shooting randomly with this Gatling gun. I think it's because he thinks he's going to die anyway, so he just wants to like live his life. But they didn't say that it's because of space dementia, which is not a real thing. So I'm not sure what they're talking about in that scene, if that was just supposed to be funny. or if they were actually serious about this guy having his space dementia, which isn't actually real. And then finally, this movie came out 2 years after Independence Day. I don't know if they shot concurrently or if this movie shot after Independence Day, but you can definitely see Independence Day in this movie. And by that I mean there's what's her name? Grace Stamper, who is played by Liv Tyler. She spends most of the second half of this movie inside the NASA, where NASA is inside the building, just kind of worried about her father and concerned about her boyfriend or her fiance now, I guess. And there comes a point, like at the end, when Bruce Willis's character is obviously going to die, and she's embraced by one of the people, because he gave his life for the world to end. And then, that's reminiscent of a scene in Independence Day where the guy who's abducted by aliens ends up flying into the beam, and his son is also like inside of NASA headquarters or wherever he's inside of, and the guy's like, "You should be proud of your father," and the kid's like, "I am." Basically, the same scene from Independence Day, and then at the end of the movie, they have the crew of the members of the crew who lived. They're walking. It's like a kind of a far off shot, and they're walking kind of towards the camera, and then Liv Tyler runs out to Ben Affleck and hugs him, which is the same exact ending as Independence Day, when Will Smith and the other big actor are walking. The fat lady has sung, they have their cigars, they're walking towards the camera, and then their respective wife, ex-wife, girlfriend, fiance also run in to hug them. Basically the same ending at the end of the movie. I couldn't help but think of that when I was watching it. Like, this is a carbon copy, basically, of Independence Day. So the writing of this movie is kind of all over the place. For a summer blockbuster, this movie is incredibly boring to me, especially the first half of the movie. And then the second half of the movie is not as boring, but it's just because they're doing crazy things that could never like actually happen, which is it's normal for a summer blockbuster, but I think they take it even like to another level of crazy. There's a scene where they try to reenact Speed, where like the bus jumps over the freeway and lands on the other side, but instead they're in like this Mars rover thing that is going to have the drill on it. They end up like jumping, and it's almost like they're going to jump over, but then they are like floating out into space, and then eventually they land. So it's like a longer, maybe they're trying to do a longer, more epic version of the Speed jump. I don't know. But the wheels of the movie kind of start coming off after they land on the meteor, asteroid, whatever. That's when ridiculous things start happening. And, it's good because it makes the movie go by quicker. That's for sure. It went by way quicker than the first 45 minutes of the movie. And now you're starting to see that even though these guys were barely trained, they're still able to figure stuff out and eventually do what they need to do. I believe it's almost by pure luck, but they ended up getting it done. They saved the world, and that's essentially what they were trying to do. So this movie is on the ridiculous side. I'm a little put off by Steve Buscemi's character, though he's a great actor. In this movie, he does exactly what he needs to do. You believe his character. You believe he's who he is supposed to be. It's just the way they wrote him, to me, is incredibly off-putting and a little creepy. Kind of needlessly. There's really no reason for him to be possibly a pedophile in this movie. It doesn't drive home the plot. It doesn't really come in later in any way. I don't understand why it was even there, unless it's supposed to be like a boys will be boys type of thing. But they allude to the fact that these girls might not be of legal age. which is kind of disturbing. So the writing, even though it's a summer blockbuster, was lazy. I thought some of the stuff they did at the end to try to button the movie up and make everything happen, make a good outcome, I believe was sloppy. They just kind of, a Hail Mary, let's see if the audience will believe any of this type of thing. And it's 2.5 hours of, God, I just didn't want to watch this movie again. I'm glad that I'm able to record this, put it on YouTube, where hopefully it'll be there forever, so that I never have to endure this 2.5 hour slog / over the top stupidity ever again. Armageddon for me is probably a 1 out of 10. I reviewed this when I was with the Film Pigeons, and we did the Film Pigeons podcast. I think I probably gave it a 1. I might have even given it a 0 then, but I'll give it a 1 now. And there you go. I'm not going to reveal what my number 1 movie is right now. We will get to that when I'm able to sit through it and watch it. Oh, God, my number 1 least favorite movie of all time is going to be, I hope, I will do it soon. I will not wait another 3 months. I will get through this movie, and then I will come out on the other side so I can start, watching things that maybe I want to watch. So anyway, thank you for sticking through this 26-minute video, and I hope you all have a great day.